Itemization is the second most important thing in League. Whether you're winning or losing a game, what items you have will determine how that game will turn out. So, for Misfortune, ideally, when you start the game, you should always get a Doran's Blade, and then the first time you go back, you should try and get a BF sword. It is a core item for her. Once you have that, ideally you'd want, if you're going the most efficient build, you would get Essence Reaver, which does a large amount of damage, and it also helps you get a lot of mana back as one of its passives. Your second item will be Infinity Edge, does a lot of crit damage, and it does 80 attack damage, so it's already quite a useful item on Misfortune since she relies on her damage from her auto attacks. Uh, Before you actually buy the second item, you should buy your boots in the beginning of after your first item. You shouldn't buy it too early, but you should buy it in the beginning. So, uh, ideally, you'd get your first set of boots, and then the second set. Normally, you would get your berserkers for the additional attack speed on Misfortune, but depending on how the game is going, you can get boots of swiftness if you have a lot of CC on enemy teams, a lot of abilities that slow you. This will help you get out faster. And if you behind or you have enemies who outpoke you, you should get boots of lucidity. Because of the cooldown reductions, you can use your E a lot more and therefore poke from a distance. After this, your second item, you now have the core items. So the rest of the items depends on how the game is going. So again, if you need more range, you can go for rapid fire cannon. This is an ideal weapon because it has attack speed and crit and movement speed, and it lets you attack from a larger range. Other items you can go for is if you feel like you need more lifesteal, a bloodthirster does work. And another really good item that you can buy is Black Cleaver. I would actually put it above Rapid Fire because of its cooldown reduction. You can use your abilities a lot more, and it really helps with tankier enemies. Other items that you can get if you have a very tanky enemy team, you can get Lord Dominic's. And if you have a lot of enemies that heal, like Mundo and such, you can get a Mortal Reminder. Because of the grievous damage, it reduces healing. Uh, if the team is really heavy CC, then you can get this item, which the active lets you escape CC, but that's very particular games, so you won't buy it generally. You can also get a Guardian's Angel uh, as your last item, though. You shouldn't build it any earlier. That's the general build that you would go for. You can also go for a lethality build, in which case your first item would be Ghostblade because of the movement speed buff and the lethality, obviously. Your second item after boots would be Dustblade, again for the lethality. Ideally, after this, where you get to your situational items depending on the game, you would generally go for Black Cleaver, but if you need more damage, you can go for Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster. You can also go for some of the newer lethality items, like this one here, which it does help, but with Ghostblade and Duskblade, those are generally enough lethality. After that, you can go for a similar build and build Rapid Fire, because you have your 2 lethality items now. Those are the core items for Misfortune. Again, it's very team reliant, so it depends on what the enemy team picks. If they have squishy enemies, go for more damage. If they have tankier, go for Black Cleaver or Mortal Reminder. And other than that, you will get used to the items and see what you like using. Misfortune combos are pretty straightforward compared to other champs. Ideally, she relies on one combo, which is the most damage per second that she can do. That combo is basically using her passive when you're in a team fight. So basically, if you're in lane and you're versing an enemy, what you'd want to do is walk up, Q, and then auto, and then Q straight after, and then auto again. So basically, it's auto, Q, auto, and then in that way you're doing a lot of damage, and it's in a split second. So just to show it to you again, it's auto, Q, auto. So if you're doing it slower, it's auto, Q, and then auto again. Misfortune is a simple champ compared to others, so her other abilities don't really create combos. You basically use them to get to your enemy faster or to slow them down and chase after them, and then to auto Q auto. You'd basically use your E to slow enemies running away, and then proc your W to increase your movement speed and your attack speed, so you can chase after them. Her ult is very situational. Ideally it's for team fights, but if an enemy is low, it does have a really big range, so you can use it to get enemies just out of range. Ideally, what you'd want to do is actually E first and then ult. That way your enemies are slowed and they remain in your ult for a longer period. You do want to W when you are taking trades, because it does boost your attack speed quite significantly. When upgrading abilities, ideally you'd want to put a level in R whenever you can, and max Q first. It does do the most damage, and then you'd max E second for your slow, and W next. If you are going to play Misfortune support and you are building AP, then you'd want to max your E, as it's does the most AP, and the slow is what really is used when you're playing Misfortune as support. But mostly Misfortune is ADC. Support is very rare, and you'd have to learn the champ quite well to play it nicely.